Oh, yeah, I know you're busy, aren't we all anymore? I want to talk to the busy women, the women that stay constantly giving to others and forgetting to take time for themselves. I have a program that I have started. It's called Grow in Five. It is your garden jumpstart. It is a masterclass starting on Monday, June 2nd. And I keep getting asked, why gardening? Why do I want to do gardening? I mean, the name of my company is Rooted in Grace and Wellness. My name is Teresa Taylor. And gardening for me has been something that I've done since I was a young child. Growing up on the farm, I grew up gardening with my mom. And, we lived off the land. And that's what we did. But back then it was a chore. I didn't want to be out there pulling weeds or playing in the dirt and getting things done. But recently, I mean, up to 6 years ago, I got my heart right with Christ. And that led me on a journey to where I am today. And I can't really talk about gardening without starting there because that's where my life started. Um, my life was changed with one prayer. And my eyes were opened to people. I was extremely unhealthy. I was almost 300 pounds. I was in pain. I was struggling to survive mentally. Physically, my body was shutting down. I was extremely tired all the time. I hurt all the time, headaches, everything. So my eyes were open. I was led to a health program that helped me learn to start eating better and create better health for myself. And just within days, I started feeling better and learning how to cook and break the diet industry's trends on how we are supposed to eat. I had done all the diets. Yeah, and this is not about a diet program. I had done them all. Pills, fads, trends, you name it. I had all the cookbooks. I was doing 4 and 5 things at a time, trying to figure out what it is that my body needed to do to release weight. And so I was able to find that program when God brought me to it. And as I learned through these years, and just learning how easy it was to create healthier meals, and I started getting back out into the garden. I had just a little space in my backyard, and it was like 4 foot by 10 foot. I'd planted a couple of things, no big deal, but I got started into gardening. I started expanding it. I wanted to grow fresh food. I wanted to have my own vegetables, and this was um, before we got shut down. Um, and I wasn't able to even plant seeds when I was so unhealthy. My husband would have to plant my flowers and do all the digging and all the labor for me. So once I started getting healthy, the joy of being outdoors and digging in the dirt, I dug out a 4 by 6 foot square part of our garden that had a lot of rock underneath of it. I dug that out a foot deep one year just before we could plant the garden. It's like I want really good soil for my garden plants. And my husband thought I was crazy, but I had to do it. And I enjoyed just getting out in the dirt and playing and getting dirty. And then just my passion for gardening just keeps expanding. It's just like every year I want to grow more and expand more. And I told the husband that first year that we opened up the garden and we had a 16 foot by 20 foot space. And I was just elated. I was in seventh heaven. And to be able to get out in the dirt and play and grow my own foods and learn. And I was still living in that structure. And I just couldn't wait to get out in the garden, see what's changing, what's happening, what's growing, what's not. And of course, fighting the weeds and the wasp, and didn't have a whole lot of pests or the ants. So, just getting out there and learning. And my life growing up until, I said 6 years ago, I lived in a very rigid, strict ideology of how things were supposed to work. It was black and white, there was no in between, and you couldn't make mistakes. And when I started doing this on the garden, and I was living in that. Everything had to be in rows. Everything had to be planted so far apart. And if you made a mistake, Well, you screwed up. And what I've learned through gardening is that it's all a learning process. And I love making mistakes now because mistakes are where I learn. And that's where we all learn. We learn through our failures because that's how we learn. That's why we all learn in everything that we do in life. If we never failed, we would never succeed. And the only times we really fail is when we don't get back up and try again. And every year that we do something here in the garden, and it's getting dark in here, every year that we do the garden, we expand it. And I learned new things. Um, and being able to make that mistake and then having, and I think what it really stuck with me is when we were out there, something had happened, and my husband's like, "Oh, well, yeah, well, that just screwed up. We just messed everything up. That wasn't the way to do it." And I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I said, what did we learn? I said, I learned about humidity. This was last year. We had covered the garden with a high tunnel, and I'd learned I can't break my foot and not get out in the garden. So to be able to step back and be okay with that. I mean, yeah, I was sad that I didn't have the amount of food that we wanted to grow because we grow for production for the family. And I was able to at that time, it's like, if that's what you're going to do is complain about the mistakes that are happening or the problems that we're having, then go in the house because I'm learning and I'm taking in all of this. So the reason that I started gardening is to get out there and be healthy. But the reason it keeps growing on me, and I want to share this with others, is because being out in that dirt healed me. I didn't know anything about grounding and frequencies and, getting and connecting with yourself and your circadian rhythm. I didn't know anything about anything. I just knew that every spring I could not wait to get out in the dirt. And I literally can't wear gloves because I literally want to be in the dirt. I want to be touching the plants. I want to be in the dirt. I want to be pulling those weeds. And when we do that, we're lowering our cortisol levels and we're increasing our serotonin and our dopamine. So I'm out there and without even realizing it, I was releasing that stress just being out there, even though it's hot and sweaty and it's hard work if you got a big garden. We've got a large garden for our backyard. So it's a lot of work. But at the same time, it's not. Because as I keep learning, I've learned a new way to plant so that it isn't structured. It isn't straight lines, and I'm taking up as much space as I can in every single bed and making the soil richer, stronger, better nutrients, and able to get more food in a smaller space so that you don't have to have a huge garden. And I want everybody to learn to do that because you can grow a lot of food in a 2 by 4 foot space. And to be able to learn to do that and space your vegetables around the way you can help avoid pests, attract your pollinators, eliminate the weeds, keep your soil healthier, and to be able to get more harvest out of that one space each year and using succession planning and learning what works and what doesn't work. So I want to help people do that. Um, I think everybody needs to know where we get food. And with all of the unhealth and everything that's going on with our food, it's time that we return to nature. And it's time we take our health back. And getting, all the processed foods, none of that's working for us. We know that. And it's time that we can start creating healthier bodies, healthier families, healthier soil, healthier air by creating our gardens and to learn to take time to do that. And it really doesn't take much time. And I have the program starting on June 2nd is Grow in 5. And this will be my first launch of this program, but it's 7 days, an hour a day, and I'm going to give you a 5 minute task. And you're going to learn in 5 minutes a day how to create a garden. And it is literally 5.8 minutes per day to have a garden. I actually looked up the statistics on that, and it's like, yeah, to have a garden in a season, the number of hours you need, it's 5 minutes, 5.8 minutes per day of growing. Now, of course, once you first get set up, it's going to take a little longer. Get your containers find the soil. What do you want to do? Choose your site. What sun, what sunlight do you have? What don't you have? What plants can you use? There's a lot of things to consider to get started, but I can help you do that in 5 minutes a day. And I want to help everybody to be able to get out and do that and take the time for themselves. And I was a single mom, raising 3 kids, working a corporate job, totally stressed, totally overwhelmed, never had time for anything. And my health suffered because of that. And being able to get back into nature and connecting with the plants and the food that God gave us to grow, all we have to do is nurture and take care of it. The rest of it, He does. The sunlight, the water, all of that He brings to us. We just have to help with the water. We can't do a whole lot with the sun, but we can help with the water as it comes, and learning how to do the watering and to preserve water, save water in so many different ways to do that. And using raised beds works, vertical growing works. There are so many different options, and I want to help everybody to do that. Um, and it's fun to play in the dirt. It's fun to grow plants, and we need to teach our children where it comes from. So that is why I do what I do. And I just being that mom that was so overwhelmed and didn't have time. My daughter is one of those moms, and it, it's it's hard to get started, but everybody thinks it's huge. Garden has to be a big space, and that's not true. And I want people to stop thinking that gardening is hard, because it really isn't. And once you start connecting with the seeds and growing the food you like, we set you up for success. I help you grow the foods that you're going to like, that you're going to enjoy, and that you are able to plant, nourish in your area, wherever your area is. We set up a garden for you together. And I can help you do that, from just consulting with you, sending you the supplies, having people come help set it up for you, being with you throughout that whole process virtually, um, or even if you're local, I can be local, but virtually is where I will do most of the consulting with you. You'll have access to me. And I want people to learn how to do that and reconnect with that, and learn that it's okay to make mistakes, and to reconnect with nature, and to take that time just to step back and take that time for you. Because I know it's busy moms, and I know it's just moms in general, and I mean, kids, the schedules. I mean, thank God my kids weren't in sports. I don't know how I would have managed that time too. But we spend so much time pouring into everybody else, and we spend so much of ourself that we forget that we really cannot pour from an empty cup. And to take 5 minutes a day just to de-stress, lower the cortisol levels, increase the serotonin, increase the dopamine by playing in the dirt for 5 minutes, or just going and talking to your garden and being out there and checking out what's growing today, what's changed. Wait, there's a new flower that's bloomed. I fell in love with the okra flowers. They're absolutely beautiful. Bees and ants and all. I don't care. They're gorgeous. And squash flowers, squash blossoms, not only are beautiful, they're edible. So the things that you can learn by being in the garden. And I want to help you learn that. So that's why I garden. It's been such a joy and a pleasure for me as I heal and continue to learn new techniques every year, new plants growing every year. I make it a point. I grow 3 new plants every season. Last year it was, well, 2 years ago it was okra. I'm still doing the okra. Um, and I did potatoes for the first year last year. I did carrots for the first time last year, and holy basil. Now this year we have kohlrabi, we have celery, we have beets, and garlic. Oh, and horseradish. So I have 5 new plants this year. So always experimenting, always trying new things, learning to cook foods differently, returning to health, and eating fresh foods. I don't have any box foods in my house. And the foods that I grow in the garden, we can. And I have a whole full pantry. I have meals canned. I have vegetables, tomatoes. I have everything that we can. I don't need to buy those at the store. So I'm saving time. I'm saving money going back and forth to the store. We're getting real food that is alive and full of nutrients. Every time you pull a plant, I eat radishes. I have radish greens and radishes. I'm eating them both. Learning to utilize our skills that we have and the access that we have. And I want you all to have access to fresh food. And I can help you all do that. So it's just in my heart. Something I just really, really want everyone else to learn to do. And it's easy to get started. It really is. Join me and let's grow something together. Grow something beautiful together. Because gardening, it'll grow on you.